Hi everyone, Catherine here from Inky Finger Cat, and another Christmas in July project. And today is the holly and the ivy. Now, I don't end up with any ivy, but I absolutely go mad with holly. And I'm apologising because last year I did some similar cards to this, quite a few using this sort of like wreath building template type thing. So I'm apologising because I am doing something similar, but obviously the card does end up looking different. And I'm also not apologising for reusing these amazing holly leaves that my friend Darcy, if you follow Instagram, it's Darcy Martial Art, she designed for Paperartsy. They're quite old stamps now. I love them. It's my favourite holly stamp ever. And I really like it when I do the wreaths. And to be honest, I'm a little bit like, I should have just left it where it was and just done what I've done here. Instead, I end up doing something over the top, mad, but do you know what? I love the card in the end. But yeah, it turned into a bit of a labour of love. Oh, why didn't I just keep it simple? Hey ho. This will end up being a 6x6 card and probably the one that I sent to my auntie and uncle. Probably. Because there's quite a lot of work went into it, so I tend to save those ones that I've done loads of work on for family members. Apologies friends, it's just how it is. So the first lot I had stamped down using the Mowed Lawn Distress Oxide, and then this second leaf I took and I went with Peeled Paint Distress Oxide. But because I wanted it to appear as if these were in the background, I have masked off the front leaves with a little bit of Post-it note. To be honest, the Post-it note hasn't really got very much tack left. It's quite old Post-it note. So I did end up using a bit of the Kingston Crafts tape adhesive, just a tiny little swatch on it. Just enough to be able to keep these in place for the multiple times that I move them around the wreath. So I stamp 4 towards the centre, and then I stamp 4 going around the outside of the wreath. Again, each time I'm doing it, I'm masking it off. So I'm not going to do how to use this template. It's fairly self-explanatory, I think. You can do it so that there's 8 of something or 4 of something, and you just place the cardstock into the corner of the template, either on the square bit or on the diamond bit. It's up to you how you want to use it, but yeah, dead simple to use. And there are plenty of other cards that I did last year in Christmas in July using this wreath building template. Hadn't used it for a while, and I just wanted to use it for this card, especially because I just love those holly leaves. Now you can see here they've gone a little bit so you can't see what's going on, so I ended up colouring them. This is where I'm like, oh seriously, loved it when it was just those 8 leaves stamped in a circle. Oh dear, funny how we just go a bit mad sometimes. So I'm going to speed this up to around about 8 times, 12 times, no, about 8 times to colour it in. I don't do anything fancy. I literally colour the leaves in. I then take the slightly darker colour. I'm using my Stampin' Blends. I think this was light Granny Apple Green, and then I'll use dark Granny Apple Green in a second. Here we go, just for the bit that's the stem and then the veins on the holly leaves. Again, I really like this. Probably should have just left it as it was. I think it all goes a bit wrong when I start bringing in the light Mossy Meadow, and it's a lot darker than I thought it was. Yeah, I should have gone for a lighter colour, but never mind, it doesn't matter. It's all fine, all learning, and it still turns out great in the end. So use the dark Mossy Meadow to do all the stems and the veins, then go in with that light Mossy Meadow to colour around all the rest of the inside. The good news is you can still see the text and the sort of like the markings that Darcy's designed in the stamps, even through the alcohol markers. It doesn't get rid of them, so it's sort of a translucent ink, so you can still see that pigment that's gone down with the oxide in the background. So that's my colouring in done also, I think. So I decided to fussy cut because I had made a few mucky marks on the white around the outside, plus I wanted this to be a raised element on my card. So again, this is very sped up. It took me about an hour and 20 minutes to make this card, and considering I know yesterday's video, I think the card for that took 20 minutes. Kind of goes to show it all goes a bit bananas, and I do a lot of weird stuff. And it just goes, it becomes a more is more card, that's for certain. So I wanted to take that white out from the inside as well, so that when I raise it up, that doesn't sort of look odd. So I took my craft knife to start me off, and then I did the rest of it with my scissors. I don't find using my craft knife as easy as using my scissors, probably because it's not the most sharp craft knife, and I probably need to get a new blade for it, and that's probably why. Right, that's my green done, and now I'm going to add some berries. And so I take the same stamp set and I do the berries, and I stamp them in the cherry cobbler ink, and then I use my stamping blends to colour them. And I use the light cherry cobbler for the actual berries. I use dark cherry cobbler for the shading that I go in and do. And then I just take, I think it's like a baked brown sugar. It's an old brown colour anyway. Might be soft suede, I can't remember. Just to do the tops of those berries, where they would have been attached to a stem, I think. I don't really know. Don't know the anatomy of a holly berry. No idea how it works. But here we go. I'm just adding in my shading. Okay, and then I'm going to fussy cut these. Oh, sorry, there's the brown. That's a Stampin' Right marker, just because I didn't have a stamping blend in a brown colour. And I couldn't be bothered getting my box of Pro markers out, even though it's right next to me. Couldn't be bothered. So I am fussy cutting these out, and I have stamped 5 of them, even though the wreath itself is kind of square shaped, if that makes sense. And at this point I go bananas, and I take a grey Pro marker, and I decide I want to define those leaves a little bit more, and I'm going to get rid of all of that white that is on the edging by using the darker grey. So I think this is the dark smoky slate. I think it might be, or it might be basic grey, can't remember. But anyway, I'm just using a grey alcohol marker to define the edges of each leaf and to get rid of all of the white that's been left in the fussy cutting. Yeah, I think that this does look better as a result of doing that, but yeah, it was all a bit bizarre really that I decided to do this. I then had to obviously then edge those berries with the same grey, because otherwise they looked a bit odd with the white border, and then I just glued them straight on. I didn't think about it too much, I just did it. I then decided I wanted stars, so I took the stars from the set, you know, the whole, you know, more is more thing. I love these kind of wonky stars. This time I chose a gold wink of Stella, which actually looks a little bit green when it's going on, but it is gold colour, I promise, to colour over. Now, because this is then opaque, you can't really see the design underneath, the stamping that was underneath. It's probably semi-opaque, it's not completely opaque, but because I'd used a yellowy goldy colour to do it, it does end up being sort of semi-opaque, and you can't really see the yellow underneath it. Now this time I did not go in with my grey, because I thought the grey and the gold wouldn't work together, and I thought, well, actually these aren't natural elements, these are additional elements that I'm adding on as decor. Doesn't really matter. Okay, so nearly there on the actual wreath. Next thing is to think about how I'm going to decorate my wreath. So I tidy up a little bit, and I then decide I'm going to use a sentiment I've already got, a die cut sentiment to add to my wreath, and I went and chose this piece that was in a red cardstock with white writing, and I add that going across the centre of the wreath, well, top centre. And then I decided I need it to say on earth, or I need it to say something else, and in the end I just went, wishing you a happy Christmas. Doesn't go with the piece, but it works. This is an indigo blue stamp, and I just went in with the black. And at first I thought I was just going to do the banner going across, and then I thought, no, it needs to be separate words. Yeah, this whole thing was just so messy doing it, and I was wondering if I'd say wishing you peace or not. Anyway, I ended up cutting these little pieces apart and then just sticking them down. At this point, I think I was starting to lose the will to live, as in, how many things can I add to this card? It's all looking a little bit crazy and a little bit disjointed, so I thought, well, let's keep going. Let's add more. So my wreath itself, this is it. This is how my wreath is going to end up. And this is going to be my card blank. But then I think, no, I want a background to it. So I then take a piece of 5x5 cardstock and I decided to add in some foiling. Now foiling takes time, so I do speed this up quite a lot, but yeah, I decided to add the pine needles background cover plate type glimmer plate. Apologies, I did knock my camera at this point. I hadn't realised I had, but I don't want to foil the entirety of it, so I almost want it to be a bit of a square in the middle of my square, and then I end up having to trim it down anyway. So I have taken some of the footage out at this point, so you've not got the full just sitting and waiting for the glimmer plate to warm up, and I am on very fast at this point. And I've used the gorgeous green gold glimmer, which totally doesn't go with the greens on that wreath, but I decided I don't care at this point because I really like the card and I think it looks a bit mishmashy, but I really don't mind the mishmashy to this point. I'm like, yeah, it's fine. So this is it. This is me coming in for the end bits and pieces now. So again, apologies, I'm sort of a little bit off camera. I stick to my original plan. I want this raised up. Probably would have been quicker at this point to have used a piece of craft foam rather than all these little adhesive foam pieces from the Kingston Crafts kit. But do you know what? Don't care. Took me this long. I was going to carry on going. I do end up, just because it's going on that foiled background and also because I want to give myself a little wriggle room to get it straight, I did add a little dot of glue to every single one of those glue dots as well. But as it is, got it on straight away and decided that's me, done. Not sure why I turned the camera off, the light off, but there you go. I hope you enjoyed this. It was a fun card to make. It took me, as I say, 1 hour and 20, so it was intensive, a labour of love, but I really like it. I love the little ribbon that I put on as well. I did that whilst I was waiting for the glimmer to warm up. Please do like if you like this one and subscribe to see future videos. There's more to come in Christmas in July. Until next time, thank you for watching and goodbye.